Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. How you doing, brother?
You know what? I'm really happy to say that I am doing very well. I think over the past, I don't know, it's hard. When you have a little bit of a fog, you don't realize that you've got a fog until you see the fog clearing or you feel the fog clearing. And you kind of think back, how long has that been there? Like I had a call with somebody on the team today, and the way I described it to him when we were talking about things, we spent so much time focused on the team and the men, right? You and I, and shining the light on the team quite rightly because we have an amazing, amazing team.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's just time to kind of focus on my cup again. And it feels like my cup is beginning to refill, which is so nice. It don't feel like it's overflowing quite yet, but it's great because, again, in terms of cups overflowing, I think where a year ago this would have been the cup overflowing, right? It's just ceilings become floors and so on. So it's definitely not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing, the position we're in, for the cup to then be emptied and to go through the process of looking how to refill it. So it feels really nice.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's amazing. And especially you coming off an Alpha Reset, right, in the UK. I hosted one here with Mark and Lee in the United States. And so,
That was
what I think
awesome.
people don't get is how, as a coach, how demanding and taxing that can be of your time and your energy. And that's what I want to talk about today. If that's okay with
Mhm.
you, is just do a recap of the Alpha Reset. When we talk about it a lot here on this podcast,
Yeah.
and
But
and
first, how are you?
I'm doing great, absolutely fantastic. I'm coming off a high. I mean, obviously, like I said, the Alpha Reset is one of those things that takes a ton of energy, more than I think anybody understands until they volunteer at
Yeah.
one, or even the participants. Because to give you guys as a listener an example here, so an Alpha Reset is a program that we have, is a transformational program, which I know is so cliche, but 8 men on average, it's 8 to 12, typically show up, and we come to a house. We do it in a home for a reason. And we're not, it's like Fight Club. So we don't tell you what happens at Fight Club. But Tim and I today, if it's okay with you, Tim, I like to talk about a few things that happen in the transformations. And part of the Alpha Reset is resetting, right? So DEAR, which is an acronym we use, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, right? A lot of us get caught in this DEAR mode and being the nice guy. We've done it for a long time in our relationships, probably in business. And we're this nice guy. Well, how do we reset it? How do we reset it to back to where maybe in your 20s or college for some of you guys, some maybe later, some never, where you had this feeling that you had the world by the balls, like you are on fire, and not just a feeling that you can get for a day, but something that once your eyes are opened, that you can have it forever. So the reset is designed to take you from deer to wolf, and for it to last. So wolf is an acronym we use for wise, open, loving, and fierce. And one thing about this, the Alpha Reset, so it happens over 4 days. That the men come together. We have a big staff. It's planned. What the guys don't know is the work that goes before, Tim, is that we have dossiers on all of these guys. We've broken down with all their coaches. We've done the research on them so we can help them the best. And the program itself, it's about 75% of the program is consistent, but that other 25% is the art. So it's actually custom done for the guys attending. And what I always say to the guys when they get there is, look, you're going to have an individual experience and you're going to have a group experience. And the reason that is because we want to make sure every guy gets to the line, what we call gets to the line. And so this whole experience happens right now. It is offered only to guys in the Brotherhood and the Inner Circle, which are our 1-year mastermind group programs. But by the end of
Oh,
this year, we'll be opening it up for special Alpha Resets. So you guys listening to this can do pre-training to get you to this level. And I can tell you right now, if you have any questions on the results, just ask any man that's been to an Alpha Reset, and they'll tell you. They won't tell you what happens there, because they don't want you to miss out on the experience itself.
Yeah, you summed it up really well. You really did. Deer to Wolf. I know when we came up with the name for it, it was all about the idea of like resetting the alpha, right? Because so many guys that go into the program have gone about their life thinking that they are being quote unquote alpha, right? Because they may be alpha in the workplace, let's say. But then as soon as they walk in through the door, they kind of just fall into beta, which essentially is deer. And even the alpha that they have in the workplace isn't really alpha, it's just ego. It's insecurity, it's proving, it's needing, it's all those things. And obviously, our definition of alpha within the movement is, alpha is all about having that quiet confidence, right? We've spoken about this on previous podcasts, that quiet self assurance. You know what you need to do, you know what's best for you and your pack. You lead, you have a calming effect, and you're very comfortable with the way that you have to lead. And we have a joke, don't we, about the guys that have been through the alpha reset. If you were to walk down the street, you'd never know that you're passing a guy that has been to the alpha reset. But then, if anything was to ever happen in business, let's say some crunch decisions were going to have to be made, or there's some chaos, or let's say there's something going on at home that needs a calm, benevolent leader to step in, you can spot a guy that's been through the alpha reset a mile off. You could play 10 movie scenes and look at them all, and we could get the guy, the hundreds of thousands of guys that are in the movement, we could get them and they could watch those clips. And I would place a lot of money on who they would pick out as the ones that have been to the alpha reset and not. So anyway, the way you described it is perfect. I love the whole art and the science. And yeah, the men that we had in the UK, it was so cool to be having two running at the same time as a new milestone for us. Obviously, it takes a lot logistically. Coaches flying across the world, men flying across the world, traveling across the country. In the UK, we had guys from Canada, the US, different parts of the UK. In the US, you had guys from Canada, different parts of the US. Don't think anyone from the UK, did you?
No, we didn't. It was just North America.
Yeah, not as though that's not big enough.
But so, we had our great Scotsman Lee Jack flew in from Scotland to be there and help assist coach. And then we had Mark Smith, who was in South Africa, fly all the way across to help hold space for these men. So absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think maybe one of the easiest ways to talk about what happens there is to talk a little bit about the men when they come out of there. Because when they return home, that's when the rubber really meets the road for these guys. And obviously, naturally, some of them are worried as to what he's going to be like when I return home. Yeah, we give them something to return home with that, paves the way. And the results that the guys have been getting since returning home, they have stepped the foot on the gas.
Let's go back for a second. Let's go back. I'm going to stop you and interrupt you because I want to describe the guys coming in. And I think it's good to say these men have done a ton of work on themselves and their relationships at this point. So at the Alpha Reset we had guys that have been in the movement for 2 years, and we had guys that had just joined the Brotherhood and only been involved in the Brotherhood for weeks. So all across the gamut, we had one man walk into the house. Now you got to imagine, guys, you're showing up. These guys have no idea what we're doing, and we're not going to tell you. They have no idea. Some of them have heard rumors that they've been around a little bit, and they know the other men that have been through it. And they all tell them the same thing. Step to the line. This will be the most transformational experience of your life. So by this point, the guys that have been in the movement for, let's say, over 3 months to 2 years, they have met, a lot of guys, really respectful businessmen, leaders in their communities who are telling them, hey, this is the best thing that I've ever done, the best thing that you will ever do. So show up big. So that's the pre-frame. So imagine you've got 50 high-powered, business leaders who across all 5 territories, self, health, wealth, relationships, and business is the 5 territories that we focus on at The Powerful Man. You've got all these men that you love and respect because they become friends of yours, albeit online. Maybe you've seen them at one of our events. and they're all telling you the exact same thing. This will be the most life-changing experience you'll ever have, right? That's saying a lot because these guys have kids, they have big businesses. So these guys show up. We had one guy, Tim, walk into the room, an amazing man. I'll call him Iron Man. These guys all gave themselves nicknames, and I'll tell you how that all went down because it was awesome. It was beautiful. Iron Man couldn't look me in the eye, and these guys know as coaches that we can see right through their masks and everything else. Iron Man couldn't look me through the eye. Other men that came in had kind of chips on their shoulders, you could see, going through it. And it was really interesting to see what was going on. Now, we did something interesting, and I don't know if you did this in the UK, because I know logistically we were running around setting things up behind the scenes, but we took before pictures of these guys. So when they came in, we stood them against a wall and took a picture, and they're like, what are you taking a picture of me for? And we explained it, and obviously these guys trust us, which is fantastic. So Iron Man walked into this experience not being able to look me in the eye or the other men. It was very flighty with his eyes. One guy in particular, you could just tell he was a little angry at the world. He was a little angry at the world and what was going on for him. Another guy, I'll call him the Tin Man, right? He had never really truly felt emotions to a deep level, very stoic. And he had a very good story. He had a medical diagnosis of why he couldn't do it, et cetera, going through his story coming in.
But lots of them got an alpha reset.
Yeah. But this
can't
guy
do it because of this. I've been labeled this. I've been labeled that. I've been
these medications, this thing going on.
Yeah. If I could just, sorry, Doug, I don't mean to. Well, I do kind of mean to interrupt. Could you just jog my memory on something? One of the guys at ours beforehand, 2 decades in therapy, on 2 different medications, labeled various different things, ADHD and all sorts. But anyway, yeah, you just reminded me from what you were saying there.
Yeah. As we all have our stories. Like I have mine, you have yours, Tim. You listening to this, you have yours. Our limiting beliefs, what holds us back, whatever it may be. All guys entered the program to help save their marriage or their relationship and what was going on there. And they discovered so much more, right? They discovered more. They went through the activation method. It made such a great impact on them. They joined one of our 1-year mastermind group programs, which again is the Brotherhood or the Inner Circle. And now they're here at the event. This is the first event that's in there. Just an amazing group of guys. Like I don't want to paint the picture of these guys who are damaged or broken in any way, shape, or form because they're not. As a coach, it's my job to read them as fast as possible and as soon as possible as they get into the room. And then, as you know, Tim, I don't want to give it away what we do, but the mood is set. The mood is set very, very specifically. And these guys were ready to go. And what I will go back to the end of it, which you were talking about, and I'll jump in here real quick and I'll throw it back to you. Iron Man, right? The guy that with head down, shoulders slumped, would not look me in the eye or the other guys very long, would talk, but look away. A powerful businessman in his own right? A leader in his community at home. And just something was missing, right? Something was missing. And you know exactly what it is. If you've been to one of our events, day 2 is a big day. We always talk about that. We'll share that openly. That guy not only could look you in the eye, but the team was designating him as one of the leaders. He would look you in the eye, confidence, power. That was just deep. It's piercing. And he's like, this is the new me. I'm like, no. This has always been you. This is always, this is that missing thing. If you're listening to it, it's because I had this, man. It's like, there's something just missing. I just don't know what it is. There's just that, I feel like my wheels are spinning. I'm stuck in the mud, and I'll just work harder and I'll hustle everybody. And we all have this story. It's that one thing that's missing, and he got it and click. And the Tin Man, woohoo, this guy, he felt emotion for the first time in his life. This man's in his 60s. For the first time in his life, he knew cognitively, like intelligently, what the emotions were, and he could adapt, and you wouldn't notice it really, right? Brilliant man, as all of them are. But he felt in his heart and the emotions for the first time in his life. And to see
Wow.
somebody go through that was like a spiritual awakening. Um, an unbelievable experience. I can go on and on of the stories of my guys because I'm so proud of them and so happy for them. And I know you feel the same way about the guys that went through with you. And what the guys don't know is you and I are always checking in also with the other coaches to see how guys are doing, because we're always tracking the results and see how they're doing, because we care. We want these guys to have the best, most fulfilling lives they can. Of course, we can't do it for them, which sometimes pisses me off because I'm just like, all right, I'll just do it for you. But you want them to have it, because then once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can never
Hmm.
unsee the change or what you've experienced. And that's where the magic really happens.
Mm. Yeah, it's incredible. Um,
Yeah, it is.
so yeah, you raise a good point. I'll go to the guys before, throughout day one and even before that, because like you said, the guys are walking in. You can see the stories, you can see the patterns. They're literally wearing it on the body. They're wearing it on the body language. They're wearing it how they hold themselves. They're wearing it like metaphorically and literally in many different ways. Um, so as day one unfolds, and day two, we had similar. I mean, you tend to have some similarities right across all the men that tend to come through the alpha reset. You hit the nail on the head. Kind of like something's missing and stories are telling themselves. And they kind of feel like they're broken. We had one of the guys there, an amazing man who has been telling himself a story since he was 7 years old when he missed a shot in baseball. He played baseball. He went on to play baseball at very high level, pro level. But this shot he missed when he was 7 years old cost his team the game. And he remembers crying in the back of the car on the way home and no one turning around to give him any form of love or affection or attention or condolence. Right. And this really influenced how he saw himself. So much so that he pulled out of baseball right before he was going to get signed on a big contract. I don't know how it was a one before the main league. Sorry for butchering baseball for Americans.
It's all
He
good.
was sharing it with me in the hot tub on the final night. We were quizzing him about baseball. Um, yeah. So anyway, this influenced him so much so that he pulled away because he didn't want to put himself in a position where he was going to be found out because he felt like a fraud and an imposter. So the easiest thing for him to do was to run away, retreat, and he stopped playing altogether. He left the sport at the age of 25, 26, just left it. And how this then transpired over the following 20 years was, like I said, 2 decades of therapy, trying to get to the root of logically of why he felt insecure and why he didn't take the shot and so on. Then as he gets married, it shows up in his relationship, like you said, with Dia. And that then forced his wife into her masculine. And that then brought insecurities in his wife as well, naturally. And anyway, he was numb. I think I can't remember how many guys there on the evening before day one saying, "Yeah, I just don't show emotion. Just don't show it." And I'm sat there thinking, okay, interesting story. Obviously, the more they tell themselves that, the more it becomes an excuse. And he was one of them, the baseball player. Anyway, as day one rolls around, he is just tearing up, as are 4 or 5 of the other guys who, by this point, could not stop the tears from. It was like decades of pent up sadness and frustration and guilt and shame. 5 agonies, essentially, pent up for decades. And then we're beginning to allow it out because they felt safe with other men, other men who they respected, other men who were business leaders, other men. We had an MMA fighter there, a pro MMA fighter there. So masculine, quote unquote, guys, right? Who, you know, this huge guy with this huge physique, super fit, opening up. So it empowers the other guys to do the same, right? Um, but yeah, by the end of the event, that guy who'd been in therapy, amazing man, been in therapy for over 20 years on various medications, was like, holy shit, it's all a story.
Yeah. So
It's
how
a
many times we
lie.
hear that, right?
Yeah, that's it. I'm coming off the medication. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'd been labeled like ADD and other things. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not. I remember the moment, get goosebumps when he sat back down on the sofa on day two or during one of the exercises around the middle of the day. He sat back down after it and it's like something went off in his head and he just realized he saw himself for who he actually really is for the first time ever, realizing that he wasn't broken. There wasn't anything wrong with him, that he didn't need fixing. And I could go on and on for a lot of the other men too. We had one guy there was an ex-addict, been an addict for a long period of his life, a lot of guilt and shame around that time. And he was sat there on day one saying, I've just got this burden of discontent. That's what it is. I've got this discontent that just I drag around with me everywhere. And I bring it into my relationship and I give it to my wife. And now she doesn't feel like she's ever good enough because my discontent is, I'm looking at her through that lens. So much so now she's stopped spending time with me on an evening. She started to go out with her friends instead of wanting to hang out with me. And as it transpired for him, by the end of day two and throughout day three, he couldn't stop smiling. He just kept saying, I'm free. I'm free. He was laughing for a good chunk of day two. You know, when that moment lands,
Yep.
he was just laughing, like chuckling uncontrollably, like he knew a joke that nobody else knew.
Yep.
And he was just like a little kid. He just found it so funny that he was free, right? So that particular guy, there was something that was shared. He sent a message when he got back home. I know I'm still going to thank you a million times, but as I get back and settle into my life with this new lens, the weekend that has changed the course of my entire life moving forwards, as long as I suit up and show up. I've been home for 4 days. My wife melts into my arms when I grab to hug her. She grabs my hand and wraps her legs around me at night in bed. I haven't spent much time at work since I got back. I have literally came home from being gone for basically a week. Did no work on Friday, very little on Saturday. He's in the hotel business, so it's like a 7-day thing, right? I did a little work on. Spent Saturday about 2 hours yesterday. Put family and me first. I've worked out twice and played 9 holes twice with one pretty extensive practice session prior. Drove an hour away, up and back twice over the weekend to catch my son swim. That's one of the things he said he was missing out on. I want to see my son swim. I'm missing it. Spent time with my daughter at a soccer game and with my wife. The old me would have started working from the moment I got home. It'll be interesting to see how my employees react over the next few days. I played 9 holes with several of them yesterday. Anyhow, I could keep rambling, but from the bottom of my heart and with tears in my eyes, thank you so much. I'm eternally grateful. And the big thing there is wife has gone from not wanting to spend time with him to then grabbing his hand and wrapping her legs around him. And it's just incredible. I'm not going to read any more out. We've got a lot of them, as you probably do too.
Yeah. I love getting them, obviously. And the thing that's interesting about this, Tim, that I always find is when the guys don't realize why they're at the event, things are shifting around them at home and at work because of the energy. And this is going to sound woo woo to a lot of guys, but because of what's happening at the event, call it divine intervention, call it the universe, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. But stuff is shifting in their relationships. You know, their wives are feeling what's happening or something. Their work is knowing that there's a change coming. And when those guys, what I call popping, right? The most common thing guys compare this to experience to is the Matrix, like being unplugged, like all of a sudden going, oh, now I see what's going on. This is why that guy was laughing uncontrollably, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. One of the gentlemen there who happened to be very devout in his faith said, you know, made a comment about, hey, this is just like when I found my religion, like when you know, was born again, so to speak. And this is like, this actually is enhancing my relationship with Jesus and Christianity. It was his words.
Mhm.
And I'm paraphrasing, of course. So I don't want to take his words out of context, but it's that newfound energy that's occurring while they're at this event transmutes into their worlds before they even get there. And it sounds like for this guy, he just, like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it gives these guys a new sense of power. And you can literally see these guys, a guy Atlas who came there. And again, I'm just using their nicknames. At the end of this, you're like, this guy could do anything in the world he wants to do. He wants to be president, he can do it. If he wants to run, a 12-figure, it's just, you could just see whatever this man wants to set his mind to and his heart to, importantly, he can do it. He
Mhm.
can achieve it with zero reservation. Like I'd put money. And that goes for all the guys too. I'm just signaling him out as one of them, which is insane thing. Skywalker was there. All these guys were just awesome. You know what these guys did, Tim, which was great? So I told him about the tradition. So there's a tradition on the Alpha resets I've run thus far is that the guys all give each other a nickname. And so
Mhm.
at the end of day 3, they kicked one of the guys out of the house. Right? I think they called themselves the Fantastic Eight, and it's something eight. I think it was the Fantastic Eight that
That's
they called
funny.
themselves. They kicked one of the guys out of the house. Bernie was sitting outside, and we're leaving because the coaches are going to go debrief. We'll be back, guys, etc. And I see Bernie out on the patio by himself, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of a red flag as a coach. Why did they kick this guy out? Well, they kicked the guy out because they wanted to deliberate and come up with a meaningful name for each one of the guys. And not only did they come up with a funny name or a meaningful name, but there was a reason they saw this guy's journey and where he was going. And so the names were extremely applicable. And they even named the coaches, which was really interesting, which is both funny and not funny enough, depending on what you got. But it was a beautiful thing to me to see because, again, you had 8 individuals walk into that house, completely individuals. And they walked out a team, like a family, really, sharing
Oh, yeah.
things that some of them have shared things that they've never shared with anybody or maybe one
Yep.
person their entire life. Very, very vulnerable things, especially in front of a group of men going through. And so the transition was amazing. So it was really cool to see them kick each other out one by one. I mean, I was only up there for a little bit. And
Mhm.
then we as coaches came, you'll love this one, buddy. We as coaches came back because there's 2 houses on this property that we're at. There was the coach's quarters, like a guest house. It's like a rustic guest house. And there's this main giant house that sits on a river. It's a beautiful scene. When we get back to the house, and all the guys are upstairs cooking a massive dinner for us. I mean, it was amazing. And they did it to honor us. And they cooked and they cleaned up everything. And they started a new tradition, at least all the Alpha resets I'm going to be in.
Yeah.
End of day 3, the guys cook. And it was awesome. It was also to celebrate Yoda. It was Yoda's birthday. They named him Yoda. Uh,
Oh, really?
yeah. So it was his
Yoda.
birthday, and the guys didn't know it at the beginning, right? They found out later that he was there,
That's funny.
flew all the way to hold space for them. One of our coaches, Yoda. And Yoda did an amazing job, as he always does, at the kitchen, but
Oh, yeah.
also in coaching.
Yeah. We just got boring names like Tim.
Yeah, these guys did great. The last one we had a bunch of them as well. But anyway, it was fantastic. And so, we probably lost the listeners because you and I know exactly what's happening. If you could imagine going to an experience with 8, 7, depending on the number of guys we have, 12 is usually how we cap it, with a group of men. And what you know about these men is they have integrity, right? They're business owners. They were married at one time or in a serious relationship. Now, some guys that we had chosen or had separated from their partners were on other relationships or in the midst of dating. And you trust the process. And you show up to a place that's very foreign for you, like guys from the US and Canada going to the UK, guys from Canada come to the US, guys from Florida flying all the way to Bend, Oregon, where we hosted it. We're just outside Bend, Oregon. and they come in and they leave literally a family, like and they leave a completely different man. I'll get approval to show the before and after photos because we took photos. I didn't say this. We took photos after the event, and it's unbelievable. You can't even tell it's the same guy, or the guy walking in looks like, he went to a funeral, and the guy leaving looks like he just left an amusement park. But it's a permanent, lasting change. And of course, there'll be ups and downs and hills and things and pitfalls, and they'll be tested. But such a beautiful experience to see these guys go through. And I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of both the guys that were in the Lakes District as well as the guys that were in Bend. And hats off to, not only you, but Mark, Yoda, Stu, as well as both Marks, I guess, and everybody else, and Phil, and everybody else that was in attendance holding space, and the rest of the team, and the guys that are in the movement, because we literally had men just holding space remotely at home that have been through the experience. And I love how that community of graduates of the Alpha Reset continues to grow. And as each group goes through, they have more and more men that have been through it. They're literally just hoping for them, right? Just hoping.
Yeah. And shout out to the team too. I know you touched on it a little bit, but we had 2 events going on in 2 different parts of the world. The logistics that gets to be arranged around all that, 2 different locations, food for all these guys, flights for all these people, transfers, what time are people arriving, along with the movement still continuing to operate and grow as normal, right? So shout out to the rest of the team that stayed at home base, quote unquote, and continued to serve all the men, continued to support the men, continued to support other men into the movement that wanted to come into it. Just everybody. I could be here for the next hour giving a shout out to the team because it's just incredible. I love our culture and why we do what we do. We could be anywhere. These are all A players that could literally get, walk into most companies, yet they choose to be here with this movement to do the work that we do to support the men. And I'm very grateful for that because it wouldn't be anything without them. And kudos to you and I. Milestone we've achieved 2 running at the same time in different places of the world. And the guys getting phenomenal results. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's all about the men. So hats off to the men that have come through. Gentlemen, my challenge, as always, in the moment of insight, take massive action. And we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.